Today, we become legends.
Hey, my name's Inter, and welcome back to the channel for the Smite 2 Open Beta 2 update notes. We've got Vulcan and Batz coming in this patch, some balance changes, some other stuff, so let's just jump right in. So first up, we have some new skins coming in this patch. We have Danzaburo Party Animal, Kepri Living Brain, Aphrodite E-Girl skin, and Cyber Geisha Izanami. I believe at least one of these is a classic skin, two of them might be, I'm not entirely sure. Some general changes, added new color HUD setting to swap health bars and minimap colors for colorblind players. This setting is found in the UI. Added contrast and color correction strength to help colorblind players. This is found in usability. So yeah, this is something some colorblind players have been calling for a while. The colorblind mods are not very good in Smite 2 at the moment, so it should help a lot. And honestly, I might turn this on myself. I always had it on in Smite 1 because I preferred the look of the yellow health bars, but yeah, we'll see. They've added dual picks and bans as a custom lobby mode. There's probably going to be a dual tournament going on pretty soon, so that'll be useful. Added text chat to end of match lobby. That's a big one. I'm a very, very big fan of that. Always felt a bit dead, you know, after the game was done, and you couldn't really like chat to people afterwards about what went on in the game and that kind of stuff. I'm a big fan. Added zoom in / zoom out functionality while in game on PC. Currently bound to the mouse wheel up and down with the ability to change it. Okay, so you can zoom in and out of your character like you could in Smite 1. Added pinning functionality on the gods page to save favorite gods to load at the top of the list. Oh, that's interesting. So you can just pin like your favorite, 5-6 gods up here or whatever. That's pretty cool, especially for people that, play a small variety of characters. They just want to see the ones that they do play. For Conquest, purple buff now provides strength or intelligence depending on whichever is higher instead of both, I believe it was providing before. FG buff is now the same. So yeah, this is mainly just nerfs to hybrid scaling gods like Aladdin and stuff like that. Layout updates, they have increased the height of some islands to block long lines of sight into other jungle camp areas. This is something I noticed in the jungle. You can sometimes do a bit of a jump and kind of see pretty far into the jungle to see if a camp's up or not. They've also added more lengths to some islands to block long lines of sight through jungle paths as well. Jungle update, they have increased the respawn time of the side harpies from 80 to 120. This is good. There's so much farm available from these things. They basically became the entire laning phase, with securing these. So I think nerfing them is good. They've also reduced the gold reward from these as well, and reduced the overall buff camp gold scaling as well. So yeah, they're going to be worth less. They're going to be respawning less. It's going to be a little bit less crucial to make sure you're securing these all the time and getting invis and stuff. Obsidian Dagger now always deals 500 damage. I thought it always did. Maybe it was like being mitigated, or maybe it was scaling per level or something like that. That's definitely good for it to be consistent though. Joust and Duel, they have updated teleport traits, fixed being able to channel the teleport while moving in Joust. Adjusted the collision around the blue camp to prevent some abilities like Hercules Boulder and Danzaburo's money bags from getting stuck outside playable areas. Increased the stealth zone grass area to fill the entire width of the pathway instead of that little area where you can be not in the stealth grass. Purple camp, they have pushed the initial spawn time further back by 5 seconds. Lost Night, they have now a maximum level of 25, so it will stop scaling at 25 minutes. They have increased the base prots and basically all of the base stats on him by the looks of it. But then they have also decreased the scaling max health as well in Duel and Joust, so he's going to have a little bit more base, but a little bit less scaling. The Lost Night buff, they have also decreased the penetration bonus from 20 to 15. Titan, they have decreased the base physical power, and Phoenixes, they have fixed Joust Phoenixes attacking faster than intended, reducing their base DPS from 250 to 200, and they have also adjusted leash radius so the back of it is more visible. Assault, healer rules have been added. Finally, I've noticed that this is not a thing in Assault. Sometimes one team just gets a healer and one team doesn't. It's very sad. If one team were to be randomly given a healer god, then the other team will also be given a healer god. These gods are placed in a tier list and both teams receive gods from the same tier. So yeah, basically exactly like Smite 1. Aphrodite, Yamuja, and Ra are going to be tier 1. There's no tier 2s at the moment, and Cupid and Baron are tier 3. Players who do not have a healer god can't reroll into a healer, and players who do have a healer god can only reroll into a healer god. So yeah, if you got Cupid, you basically can only reroll into Baron Samedi, which is an interesting little quirk at the moment until they add more healers. Ranked Conquest, there is a trio queue ranked matchmaking update. So ranked matchmaking imposes a hard limit on the SR range in a match that expands over time. The longer a player waits, the wider the range is possible, just to make sure you're not getting like 15-minute queue times. Trio queue is healthy for the top end of the ranked funnel and brings in many new ranked players, but under the standard set of ranked matchmaking rules created undesirable outcomes, especially with top ranked players. Note, we are working towards future technical ability to limit party sizes based on player SR, and that may follow with a future patch. Moving forward, we will treat solo and duo queuing as standard ranked queuing and trio queuing under its own set of rules. Party sizes of 3 will be evaluated based on the maximum SR of their party as opposed to the average in duos. Parties of size 3 will be hard limited to a range of 1000 SR, capping at 5000. This means parties of size 3 can incur indefinite wait times in ranked if no viable match exists. This will be based on the maximum SR of party members as the opposing team as well. And also 3-1-1 versus 2-1-1-1 has been removed removed from the viable matchmaking pool in ranked. So yeah, if you don't know, in ranked they have certain matches that just can't be made. So like a 3-stack and a 2-stack versus all solo players is a match that just will never be made no matter what, because that's just completely unfair. Skill rating post-match adjustment update. A bug resulting in players gaining or losing an incorrect amount of SR based on quality of opposition was discovered and fixed. This resulted in many nonsensical feeling adjustments post-match. Skill rating adjustment factors now factor the quality of opposition much more heavily. A few regions which previously had minimal restrictions placed on their ranked matchmaking will have slight adjustments made due to an increase in ranked population, but will be monitored closely, which is LATAM South and OCE. So yeah, I assume there just wasn't enough people queuing in ranked to have significant restrictions, whereas now there is, so they can get a little bit more restrictions to hopefully get higher quality matches. Backfill is also now disabled in ranked. Backfill as a system was causing near random replacements of players into ranked matches after a player failed to connect to the initial lobby. For probably obvious reasons, this was disabled until future work can be completed on the system. This is really good. I think this might have been causing a lot of the weird oddities that I've seen in ranked matchmaking, because for me, my ranked matchmaking has been really good overall, but I just get the occasional game where it's like, this player should obviously not be in my game. I don't know how they got in here. It was probably because of backfill. That's probably what was happening, because it wasn't a completely unbalanced match. It was just one player who clearly just should never have been there. That was like, you know, I'm in plat at the moment. It's just like some guy that is clearly an actual bronze player in my game, and it's like, okay, that was probably happening because of backfill, so hopefully that should happen a little bit less often. But overall, these rank changes are really good, I think. Limiting parties of 3 to be at the maximum SR, I think, is really good. It will hopefully help a little bit also with people that shouldn't be in your games. You know, if a party of 3 was queuing with like 1 insane player and 2 really bad players, they get matched into a game that's like way below their level, whereas now it will be matching based on the maximum SR of the party. Matchmaking in general, not even ranked. Team balancing update. Discrepancies with how teams were balanced was uncovered, and the first potential fix is being implemented. Examples of this issue previously looked like matches where 1 or 2 players swaps made logical sense to create a more balanced match state. This incoming fix affects both casual and ranked matchmaking, so yeah, just some general updates. Practice, they've replaced Yumiya bot with the target dummy totem. The target dummy has 0 base protections, so a little bit of practice mode updates. Different god bots can also be spawned by cycling through their portraits. That's really good. You can do just non-Yumiya bots. You can also now add protections to bots or target dummies up to a maximum of 500, and apply settings to bot will now apply more accurately. Yeah, this is all good stuff for me. I spent a lot of time in practice mode. New gods though. So first up we have Vulcan. You may have seen him already. They did showcase him at the Titan Talk in Vegas, and he's also been live for a flash test already. Well, basically Vulcan's base kit is completely unchanged, but he now has this new mod system. So you have 3 levels of mods. You have set 1, set 2, and set 3, which are available at level 1, level 7, and level 14. And these will all do different things for you. So the alternator mod in set 1, you gain access to the Thumper turret by alternating between Inferno Cannon and Thumper on each ability activation. And the Thumper is going to pulse out an AoE attack around it in a large circle that's going to deal damage, and may also slow, but I don't think it does in Smite 2. It did in Smite 1 when Vulcan's original design was a thing. The dual mod gives you access to the Thumper turret as well, but this is in your first consumable slot and will have a 20-second cooldown, so it's a bit longer of a cooldown, but you're not interrupting your Inferno Cannons by doing it this way. And the efficiency mod, all of the third mods in each set will be basically, if you don't want to go for the Thumper turret, you don't want to go turret base, you could just pick these. So this one is do not gain access to the Thumper, but instead your passive grants 10 CDR in addition to the other effects when triggered. So these ones will all be for just like your basic burst damage ability based Vulcan if you're not bothered about turrets. In set 2, the Resonator mod, the Thumper gains increased health and applies an attack speed debuff to enemies hit. Shrapnel mod, Inferno Cannon applies additional damage over time on hit. And Thermal mod, Backfire and Magma Bomb deal 20 plus 10% in bonus magical damage. And finally we have set 3, the Masterwork mod, Thumper gains even more health and applies a protection buff to allied gods hit. The Surplus mod, you can have 2 Inferno Cannons deployed at one time, which is kind of crazy. And the Seismic mod, Earthshaker trembles enemies hit for 2 seconds. So yeah, that's basically it with Vulcan. Nothing else changed within his base kit. It's all going to be within this mod system on the passive. Moving into Batz though, who's going to be releasing week of February 3rd, so he's not going to be out initially with the launch of OB2. I believe Vulcan will be though. But of course, they're doing a god release every week now, so we're on a 2-week patch cycle, but there'll be, you know, probably 1 god release with the initial patch, and then 1 god release later, and then when OB3 launches 2 weeks from now, we'll have 1 god release with OB3, and then another one will release during the OB3 cycle. But for Batz, Infused Strikes, when Batz successfully hits an enemy with an Infused Strike basic attack, in addition to dealing 1.2x damage, it also grants Batz a strength buff that stacks up to 4 times. So while you're AA cancelling, you're just slowly gaining more and more strength. Somersault, they have removed the pre-fire time. Batz now deals damage and slows enemies around him at the location where he takes off in addition to the location where he lands. So if you got like a melee god on you can up down and get double damage on it, or you know, if you're running away or whatever, you can slow the enemy and deal damage as you jump out. Enemies hit by both areas will take 25% damage from the second hit though, so it's only 125% damage, it's not double. And Overhand Smash, Batz now howls while channeling, applying a stacking physical protection debuff to targets in the area up to 4 times. That's basically it in terms of Batz base kit changes. He also has an aspect though, which we'll get into here. We've got 4 new aspects coming in the OB2 patch. Vulcan's aspect is going to be very turret focus. So Vulcan's passive gains being near one of your turrets grants you and the turret increased protections and health regen, but Backfire and Magma Bomb have lower damage scaling. So if you are going for some of those mods that are going to be giving you access to the Thumper turret and maybe getting like double Inferno cannons and whatnot, you're going to be wanting to go the Aspect for Vulcan probably. Hunbat's Aspect of Disruption. Infused Strike slows enemy gods hit but doesn't grant the strength buff anymore, and Overhand Smash stuns gods hit but deals reduced damage. So this is obviously leaning towards a more solo lane like a CC heavy Bruiser Hunbat, maybe in support as well. Sobek Aspect of Prey. Charge Prey now passes through all targets and knocks them forward, so it's going to be a bit more of like a Hercules driving strike style effect. You're going to be able to push enemies into your team rather than blocking them over your head. And Sickening Strike's cooldown reduction now additionally triggers off of jungle monsters, but the healing is halved. So trying to lean Sobek a little bit more into a jungle role, I guess. Will jungle Sobek be viable? Probably not, but you never know. It could be. And Ares, the Aspect of Reverberation. Call to Arms, which is the 2, no longer grants protections or affects allies. Instead, Ares empowers his shield for the next basic attack, stunning the target and spreading damage to nearby enemies. So yeah, it's going to be leaning Ares into a bit more of a damage role, maybe solo lane, maybe jungle, something like that. We got a couple of new items, Gilded Arrow and Sharpshooter's Arrow, which are new starter items for ADCs, which is interesting. You know, maybe at some point they're going to add new starter items for every single role, so we'll have 3 options, kind of like we did in Smite 1. So Gilded Arrow is going to be coming back. This is 25 basic attack power, 8% lifesteal, and passive. Every 8 seconds the highest health enemy is marked. If you secure the killing blow on that target, you gain 4 bonus gold and 25% attack speed for 8 seconds and restore mana. So yeah, it's basically the same as Gilded Arrow from Smite 1. And Sharpshooter's Arrow, this is 60 basic attack power, 10% attack speed, 15% life deal, 15% crit, and all sources of gold gain are increased by 5%. Basic attack damage is increased by 20% when hitting a target over 7.5 meters away. So this is kind of a little bit of a hybrid. You know, it's got the gold gain increase from Diamond Arrow, but it's also got the crit chance from Ornate Arrow, and it's also got this new effect of basic attack damage is increased over 7.5 meters away, which I believe is around half basic attack range, something like that. So enemies that are over half of a range basic attack away from you are going to be taking 20% increased basic attack damage, which I assume will apply to the base basic attack damage itself, kind of like Hydra's Lament does. So this will be boosted by crit. It'll be essentially a 40% bonus if you're critting, which is kind of nice. Moving into balance for OB2 though, Stampede is getting nerfed, thank god. 10 physical pro off of it. The active buff duration reduced by 2 seconds, and they've also removed the active attack speed buff. So really big nerfs for Stampede there. It definitely needed it though. This is being built in every support and solo build and a lot of jungle builds as well. It's definitely needed some nerfs. Gargoyle also getting a nerf, 5 cooldown rate off, and the active protection debuff from 20 down to 10. This was initially 25, so some pretty big nerfs for Screeching Gargoyle. It will probably still be good, I think, after this change. Stampede will probably also still be decent, but it's not something you're going to be building on 3 gods every single game kind of thing anymore, which is nice. Tekko Kage, they have decreased the passive movement speed, and also Gem Focus getting the same change by 1% each stack. So a total loss of 3% movement speed. Honestly, Tekko Kage, I feel like they maybe could have left it, but given it the nerf to the cooldown. Because at the moment, it has 30 cooldown, where no other item in the game has 30 cooldown, which is kind of weird. They maybe could have nerfed the cooldown down to 25 and kept the movement speed, but this is kind of fine. Soul Gem, they have decreased the intelligence by 10. Probably won't be enough. I think Soul Gem will still be a very good item after that. Kinsblade, they have decreased the passive max health damage from 3.5 to 3, and the passive is now reworded. If the target has more max health than you, deal an additional 4% of the difference in max health. So that really kind of sounds the same as what it already was to me, to be honest. But yeah, Kinsai is going to be a little bit weaker against squishies, but pretty much the same effectiveness against tanks. World Zone, they have removed the cooldown rate. They have increased the mana by 200, the mana regen by 1, and increased the passive ultimate cooldown reduction from 20 to 30%. So ultimately, this is probably a nerf to the item, because the cooldown rate already was probably going to be reducing your ultimate cooldown by maybe not quite 10%, but close, but also going to be affecting your basic ability. So it's actually probably a nerf to World Zone, I think. But if you are relying heavily on your ultimate, you know, on some gods that are reliant heavily on their ultimate, like, I don't know, maybe Akate, maybe Agni, something like that, this could be good. Chronos Pendant, they've increased the int by 10. Bloodbound Book, they've decreased the cost by 100 and increased the int by 10. Probably will still be a pretty bad item, but we'll see. Dagger of Frenzy, they've given it 10 more strength, and the active damage per level have gone up from 2 to 3. So definitely some nice buffs for Dagger of Frenzy there. 50 strength is pretty damn high on the base item, and you know, it's gaining essentially an extra 20 at level 20. Height of the Nemean Lion, they have adjusted the damage reflect to be pre-mitigation instead of post-mitigation. This is pretty big, actually. This is pretty big. So this is actually huge, very huge. If you're building like a full tank build and you have like 200 physical protections, you're going to be mitigating like 75% of the damage you take. So this is actually a massive buff to Height of the Nemean Lion. You're going to to be reflecting a lot more damage. This might actually be a really good item now, I think. Avenging Blade, they have decreased the cost by 200. Warrior's Axe, they have decreased the passive cooldown. Same thing with Sundering Axe. War Flag, they have decreased the max stacks from 10 to 6, but increased the effects accordingly. Actually, increase the effects more, so you're going to be getting overall more, and you're also going to be stacking up much more easily. With 6, it's you just need 1 full minion wave to stack up War Flag now, which is pretty good. War Banner also gets basically the same changes accordingly. Arrow's Bow, they have decreased the active cooldown from 10 seconds to 1 second, and the mark now is indefinite until a new mark is selected or the marked ally moves further than 26 meters away. 26 meters is pretty far, I think. That's like about 2 ranged basic attacks worth of distance, something like that. I'm still getting used to adjusting to meters instead of feet from Smite 1, but I think it's around like 2 ranged basic attacks, maybe a little less. And this is really good. This is a change I actually called for a little while ago on Arrow's Bow. I think it just makes more sense to do it this way. It's really annoying to have to constantly, you know, turn around and mark someone new every 10 seconds. Like, you know, you can just put this on someone as if like you're Aphrodite or whatever, just stick near them and they will have it for the whole fight until, you know, they either die or you select a new mark or they go too far away. Shift the Shield now grants either strength or intelligence depending on which stat is higher. Again, another good change. It just makes hybrid scaling gods a little bit less strong with these kind of items. And Bubba's Golden Dagger, they have changed the AoE mention from non-minion to jungle monsters. So they did nerf this like officially in the game not too long ago, but they've now changed the text to be updated so that it doesn't affect minions, only jungle monsters, which is definitely going to make it a lot less good for ADCs. Moving into gods though, Ula getting some nerfs. Invigorate, they have decreased the movement speed from 15 to 25%. It's now 10 to 20%. Hail of Arrows, they have increased the cooldown by 1 second, and Wield Bow, they have decreased the strength as well. So probably not going to be enough. I think Ula's still going to be pretty insane. This is just mostly like nerfing utility and like a little bit of passive stats. This isn't really going to matter too much, I don't think. Medusa, Viper Shot, they have nerfed the damage per tick by 5 at all ranks, and of course that is per tick and also 4 shots. So that's actually a pretty substantial amount of damage off of this ability. It ticks 3 times and there's 4 shots, so you've got to multiply any base damage reduction here by 12. So essentially that's 60 base damage off of the ability. That's pretty substantial. And they have also decreased the attack speed so that it now scales up to 60% from 40 instead of just 60% flat. Jingwei, Persistent Gust, they have decreased the damage by 10 at all ranks and increased the cooldown. Yes, this ability is annoying, but it's not the main reason Jingwei is so busted. That's the 2. They probably need to hit that, I think. Thanatos nerfs specifically to the aspect. Soul Reap, they have decreased the bonus damage scaling from 5% to 3.5% max health and the healing from 1% to 0.75%. This is good. I think this is the main problem with aspect Thanatos. This 3 just deals way too much damage in the late game. It ends up hitting basically as hard as Death Size, sometimes even harder if you're going more, some max health in your build. So yeah, definitely good nerfs for Thanatos there, I think. Akate nerf, they have decreased the bonus damage on triplicate form by a little bit of base and a little bit of scaling as well. Spell Eater, they have decreased the damage scaling as well and increased the cooldown. Aladdin nerfs, finally. Let's see what they've done for Aladdin. So Sultan's Grace, they have decreased the dash damage scaling by 10% strength and 10% int, and the punch damage scaling by a little bit of the base and also 5% strength but no int. Ability probably needs more than this, to be honest. It still hits basically as hard as entire God's base kits. It's absolutely insane. Agile Run, they have decreased the landing damage scaling by 5% of both. They have also decreased the Genie damage scaling by 10% strength and 5% int, and they have also decreased the max leap range. And finally, into the lab, they have decreased non-combatant increased damage from combatants from 25% to 12.5%. So yeah, this can be a little bit hard to decipher. This basically means if Aladdin lamps someone and then someone else comes into the lamp, he is dealing now 12.5% bonus damage to them instead of 25%. So, I mean, okay nerfs overall, but it's not going to be anywhere near enough. This god's absolutely busted. He's going to need way more than this. Ultimate cooldown should go up, in my opinion. This needs more of a damage nerf. His 1 could maybe use a damage nerf as well. Agile 1 should probably also go up in cooldown. I don't think the damage that this is dealing is a big problem. The leap distance is a big problem. This is a good nerf, but I think this should just go up in cooldown as well. And also the lamp should just not give free stats, in my opinion. It's silly that the lamp gives free stats. So yeah, this won't be enough. Aladdin's still going to be pretty busted, but it'll be a little bit less busted, which is nice. Aphrodite, they have decreased the movement speed from Kiss. They have also decreased the shared protections from 10% to 8%. So yeah, this is good. Aphrodite is obviously pretty broken at the moment in the support role, and this is the main reason. Ra, Divine Light, they have decreased the solar ray damage substantially. Wow, okay, so that the base damage on the solar ray basic attacks is going to be substantially less, but they have increased the scaling from 55% into 85%, which is a lot. So if you're going like int base mid lane Ra, which was definitely the worst way to play him compared to like aspect tanky solo Ra, this is a big nerf to tanky solo Ra and a big buff to int base mid lane Ra. Poseidon, they basically reverted a bunch of damage nerfs that they gave him. So they reverted the 1 damage nerf, they reverted the 3 damage nerf, and they reverted part of the ultimate damage nerf. And I think this is kind of fine. The main reason Poseidon was so broken was the fact that the 2 was on a 10-second cooldown. Just that nerf alone, bringing it from 10 seconds to 15 seconds was absolutely massive. And Poseidon definitely has fallen off a bit. Honestly, I don't think he needed these reverts. I think it was kind of okay before, but maybe they have some data that he's drastically underperforming or something, so they've reverted some of those nerfs that they gave him before they decided, okay, yeah, the actual problem is the 2. Bacchus belly flop going down 1 second in cooldown. This is a revert from quite a while ago, I think, and also Belch of the Gods going down in cooldown as well, another partial revert. Bacchus got some pretty heavy nerfs when in the early days he was one of the stronger tanks in the game, but with all the stuff they've added to the game since Bacchus was the best god in the game, or one of the best gods in the game, you can definitely use some buffs. Soul Radiance, they have increased the base damage per tick a little bit on that, and also decreased the cooldown. Stellar Burst, they have fixed an issue where the ability description had the incorrect range and where it would consume Polynomicon when thrown. Interesting. Very interesting. Why would it consume Polynomicon, Hi-Res? I wonder if they initially planned to allow it to use Polynomicon, but then reverted it, or maybe an aspect for Sol is planned where it can proc Polynomicon. We'll see. Supernova, they have reduced the subsequent hit reduction from 70% to 35%, then 70% for further subsequent hits. Okay, so yeah, your first hit's going to do big damage, your second hit's going to do pretty big damage, and then after that is going to be smaller damage. Neith getting some buffs, which I think makes sense. She's pretty bad at the moment. They have increased the damage scaling on Spirit Arrow by 5% of each. Unravel, they have increased the base damage and the scaling as well. And Backflip, they have added a 30% slow. So yeah, this was the case in Smite 1. They've added that back in Smite 2 now. Definitely will help Neith with escaping from melee gods and stuff that are diving on her. Dancerboro buff. Dishonest Duplication. They have fixed an issue where his clones were not gaining any stats when dealing basic attack damage. As a result, this ability has undergone a significant rebalance pass. In general, this ability should feel similar at lower amounts of strength and intelligence while being stronger than it is currently at higher amounts of strength and intelligence. So it now deals 10 plus 1 per level damage, 10% of basic attack damage non-talent, and with the talent it's going to deal 12.5 up to 17.5% basic attack damage with the aspect. Alluring Spirits, they have decreased the cooldown in the early game, is going to be the same late game, and Tanuki Trickery, they have increased the damage by 10 base at all ranks and fixed an issue where it was always using the rank 1 damage. Okay, that's a pretty big deal. So some pretty solid Dancerboro buffs. We'll have to see how he shakes out though. It seems like they fixed some issues and then rebalanced some stuff, so we'll see how strong this actually is. Cabrakan getting some buffs makes sense. He's released pretty underpowered in Tradition. He released very underpowered in Smite 1 as well. They have increased the damage mitigation on Shadow Zone by 1%. Increased the damage on Refraction Shield by 15 up to 35 depending on rank, and increased the damage on Seismic Crush by also 15 up to 35 depending on rank. So some relatively small Cabrakan buffs. They probably don't want to go too crazy and make they got completely broken or anything. Susano getting some buffs as well. This is good. Susano has just been very outclassed by a lot of other ability-based strength junglers for a long time. Thor's been better, Loki's been better, Thanatos has been better. He's just been outclassed for a long time. They have increased the strike damage on Stormcaster by 10 at all ranks and 5% strength, the spin damage by 10 at all ranks and 5% strength, and also decrease the cooldown in the early game. And yeah, this is really good. This being on a 12-second cooldown in the early game is kind of nasty now. You know, this is always historically a very long cooldown. I think in Smite 1 it might have even started at 16 seconds. So this being at 12 seconds in the early game is kind of big, and they've also given it some more damage. Typhoon, they have increased the damage per tick by 5 base damage and 2% strength. They have increased the max damage by 10 base damage and 5% strength, and also decreased the cooldown from 100 seconds down to 90. So yeah, some solid Susano buffs. He might actually be competitive with a lot of the other strength-based ability junglers now. And finally, for balance, Nemesis, they have decreased the cooldown of Swift Vengeance to 11 at all ranks, so should help out her early game a bit. Slice and Dice, they have increased the damage by 10 at all ranks and the center damage by 20 at all ranks, essentially. The center damage going to be increased by 10 at all ranks. And there's also a bunch of bug fixes down here that I will link the patch notes down below if you're curious about the bug fixes, but I'm not going to bother reading through them all. But yeah, overall, a pretty good patch, I think. We got 2 new gods coming throughout the course of this patch cycle. Some pretty good balance overall. I think like Ula's going to need more. Jing probably needs more. Aladdin definitely needs more, but we'll see. We'll see how this shakes out, and some pretty good buffs overall as well. Especially the item balance I think was really good. The Stampede and Gargoyle nerfs are good. The Kins nerf is okay, I guess. Overall, I think the item balance was pretty good. But yeah, we got 4 new aspects, 2 new gods coming as well. Some other miscellaneous changes like ranked matchmaking updates. Assault and Joust and Duel getting some changes. Some colorblind mode stuff. Yeah, overall, really good patch. What do you guys think though? Let me know down below, and I'll catch you guys for another one later on. Have a great day, and peace out, you nerds.